So thank God, Hughesy. I'd like to send a special thanks out to Hughes because he was going to post the last show on Saturday, and you had told everybody that Ricochet was going to win the U.S. title. Where if it came out on Saturday, everyone would have said,
The
"Hey,
the Intercontinental."
oh, sorry, yes, Intercontinental," and they would have said, "Hey, thanks for the heads up on Saturday," as it happened on Friday. So thank God it went out on time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff last week. Unfortunately, what you said happened in terms of we saved things, and they ended up like bits of it ended up coming out through the week. But obviously, we can still talk about it. We said last week there were problems with Austin, so we have that on here. We just didn't elaborate on what they are, and you can see this week that there's no match essentially at the moment. So that kind of alludes to what I was talking about. It's just a shame that I didn't specify what it was before it came out, but I think people know.
It's weird with the Austin thing because I was thinking, do they not even know? Like, it's not like they know and they're giving it to us in pieces. Do you think they don't even know what's going on? Because Austin, in his rebuttal on Twitter, was like, I don't care if it's a match, a brawl, a KO show, or what. And it was like, do they know if he's going to actually have a match yet? Or are they trying? Is this the discussion?
They need to proceed with what they're doing. So, obviously, hold on a second. You're not coming out of my ears, and I'm wondering why I've got these on. If you're not coming out of my ears, turn it on.
That'll do. I'll come out of your ears.
What's going on here? Why is it not coming on?
Test.
Supposed to make a little bleepy sound.
Now you were fading in and out, but I got you now, I think.
Yeah, your lips don't match up to the sound, which is annoying.
Well, that Chinese movie internet that you have, it's okay. We can continue on. Apparently, when it goes on YouTube, it's fine on my side, so whatever.
Yeah, you don't need to see us. You can just hear us if you can, and then hear my fake lisp that this gives me. So
that should be discussed too. That this show gives you a lisp that is beyond bizarre.
Well,
because I don't hear it while we're talking.
Discuss it last week. So my story from last week, and the reason why we save stuff is not because we're trying to fill out the next show, because we can do a 20-minute show and we can do an hour and a half show the next week. But people complain and they turn around and go, just get to the news, and don't, it's like the show starts here. These idiots are still doing that. Look, we do a show. Like, we're not going to do a list. I'm never going to do a list. I'm never going to read out a bunch of because what's the point of Cav being there? Like, I could just come on here and just read a list of stuff. If you want that, just go on my website, because this stuff is available in list form in terms of a couple of paragraphs. All you need to do is go to thedirtysheets.com and it'll be there. But if you want to hear us discuss it, which is what you're here for, and give some insight into it and give my opinions in terms of why this happened or where it's going to go next, this is the show. And the problem is that if we do pin up a show that's an hour and a half and we do cover every single bit of news when it happens, then you'll get people complaining about the show being too long, or we wasted time here and there. Look, we're going to talk about stuff in depth. We're going to veer off and talk about other things. Last week, we didn't do a proper AEW preview, and we had to take 3 stories out. And the reason we did all that is because of the complainants. I didn't have to do. I could have done a 2-hour show last week, and today I could have done a 20-minute show and gone to bed earlier. It's already 2:30 a.m. anyway. But the way it's worked out is this show is going to be relatively decent length, and last week's was really long. So what we took out was this story about Stone Cold Steve Austin and about the problems of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the problems were very much what you saw. They're not in agreement in terms of what Stone Cold wants to do. There's issues in terms of the very first issue was the return date. Now, the WWE wanted Austin to return on the 14th of March. Then you'd have all the stuff out for 316 Day, which is on Wednesday. They wanted him to go on the bump on Wednesday. They wanted him to be in full promotional mode for WrestleMania and be involved in the running up to WrestleMania and the match with Kevin Owens. Steve Austin does not want to be at Jacksonville on the 14th. He just wants to be at WrestleMania. He wants to preserve that pop. And the problem with that is that there is no build up essentially to the match. So what Austin wants to do is Austin wants to have the confrontation, have a confrontation at WrestleMania. He doesn't want to have a match, whereas they're very, very much into the match and they want to promise some physicality, which is why we hit this middle ground of there's going to be 100% physicality on a talk show because it's pretty much advertised, but there's no match. And that's just a lot of this down to the fact that Austin doesn't really want to do a match. Austin doesn't want to be in Jacksonville on the 14th. Austin, there's even stupid little bits of old fights, like old fights about music. Austin likes a music that he had at WrestleMania 17, where he won the belt from The Rock. And then they changed that music immediately. They gave him a different music when he was heel with the Alliance. They gave him Alliance music. But he likes the music that was in between. So in between that return and the heel turn, that's the music that he likes, and he feels like that would be something that he should be coming out to. Now, the origins of that music are interesting because when the WWE had Steve Austin coming back in the year 2000, they had remixed this track with Snoop Dogg for Stone Cold to have in order to revamp the character. But Steve Austin said that he didn't want to come out to hip hop. They said it was absolutely not what he was about and not what he wanted to do. He did not want to come out to this track. This track ended up going out on some Pie CD with The Rock, with The Rock's singing debut about pie or something. Do you remember that?
I do.
Right. So that's where this. I think that's where this song landed. Snoop Dogg was paid like $100,000 to sing Stone Cold's music, and they never used it because Steve Austin said he didn't want it. So I've had this issue before, but it's not the main issue. It's just one of loads of issues about what type of match, length of match, if there should be a match, when he returns, why he should return, how much stuff he wants to do we save the pop for Texas? And look, the bottom line is that Steve Austin wins on every single front. Steve Austin does what he wants to do because he's in control with if he appears or if he doesn't appear. He doesn't need any money. And even in his absence, he's the second highest T-shirt seller in the whole of the WWE.
Man.
Obviously, down to the fact that they've gone ahead and marketed and franchised Los Angeles 316, Chicago 316, New York 316, Brooklyn 316, Philly 316, all that stuff that he gets the royalties for. They've gone and made that, but at the end of the day, you need to have you can't dismiss the 316 element of it because it's not going to work if it's Brooklyn is Claymore country,
yeah,
or Philly is Claymore. Do you know what I mean? It's not gonna do as well. Not to Drew or anything, but yeah, that's it's Steve Austin's part in that can't be dismissed. So they're primarily the issues. And as we head to WrestleMania, we're still going to see this hybrid of a match talk show segment. One thing I will say, and this is a very strong indicator that the proper match with Steve Austin in his trunks, like Cav was fantasizing about seeing him topless in his trunks and everything, what Cav was clamoring for. The fact this is on
well,
WrestleMania,
don't say it like it's that reason. I want to see my wrestler as a wrestler. That's what I wanted to see. And yeah, I mean,
your wrestler's in shape. That's not the issue. That he's not in shape. He's in shape because he's known he was doing Mania for 5 months. But the fact is that it's on WrestleMania Saturday, and WrestleMania Saturday is already stacked, and now it's got this as well. So it's got 2 women's title matches, Logan Paul and Stone Cold Steve Austin. WrestleMania Saturday is proper stacked up. But the indicator of this is that that if it was on WrestleMania Sunday, it would be much more likely that it would be a match, and they would eventually get to a match. So I think this is just going to be a very physical talk show.
I would much rather this not even happen then. If it's not going to be a match, I don't need to see a KO show to where it's the same thing with him insulting and getting insulted, and then it ends with a stunner and pouring beer on him, and that's we've seen it enough. I love to see Austin and all that kind of stuff, but I don't need to see this kind of thing.